Paul Heyman leaves The Vision. Explanation for AJ Lee's WWE absence. Why WWE removed Bronson Reed's merchandise. Triple H is similar to Tony Khan. Triple H has ruined a major WWE championship. WWE's future is in danger. Hulk Hogan's family files petition for malpractice claim. Rhea Ripley must be removed from her current storyline. Why Blake Monroe chose WWE over staying in AEW. Booker T backs up Jade Cargill's rise. Let's dive right in. Explanation for AJ Lee's WWE absence. AJ Lee hasn't stepped into the ring since her clash with Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins at WrestlePalooza. Word had it that after pinning Becky in that mixed tag team bout, AJ would go after her Intercontinental title at Crown Jewel just 4 days off. She was supposed to hit Raw in Dallas with her husband CM Punk to lay down the challenge, but the Black Widow stayed away, leaving plenty of fans scratching their heads. Here are 4 reasons behind AJ Lee's WWE absence. Number 1, AJ Lee hasn't fully recovered after her WrestlePalooza match. One big reason WWE skipped booking AJ Lee against Becky Lynch at Crown Jewel might be that she's still shaking off the aches from the match. It was her first one in almost 10 years. She wrapped her wrestling days back in 2015. This comeback wasn't even on her radar. Plus, she admitted the ring hits harder now after so much time away. The match felt amazing. It's surreal. It's been a minute. Everything hurts way more than I remember, but that was a lot of fun, she said at the post-match press conference after WrestlePalooza. The creative team likely checked her out and might hold off for another big premium live event. Number 2, AJ Lee might be performing on a part-time schedule in WWE. She could also be on a part-time deal with WWE. That might explain why she's not lined up against Becky Lynch. She did sign a contract, but it could mean spot appearances only. So, her next step might come before Survivor Series, War Games, then the Royal Rumble next year, and maybe a huge or even final match at WrestleMania 42. Number 3, wasn't advertised for Crown Jewel PLE. The former Divas champion also didn't make the Crown Jewel lineup. The creative team might not want AJ Lee facing Becky Lynch there, and could save it for Survivor Series, War Games next month. The Crown Jewel card is already stuffed with matches, so the bosses probably figured another date works better. Number 4, WWE saving her inevitable singles feud with Becky Lynch for Survivor Series. Survivor Series ranks as one of WWE's top events. It sits right behind WrestleMania and SummerSlam, so the company might see Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee as a perfect fit for Survivor Series War Games. That could be why the 38-year-old star skipped Raw this week. Why WWE removed Bronson Reed's merchandise. Bronson Reed spilled the beans on why WWE pulled his new merchandise back in August. The Auszilla has been making waves as part of The Vision, especially after swiping Roman Reigns' shoes following a brutal beatdown. That stunt earned him the Tribal Thief nickname, with Reed strutting to the ring with Reigns' shoes dangling around his neck. Ahead of Clash in Paris, WWE dropped a t-shirt tied to the gimmick, but quickly yanked it before putting out a tweaked version. On the Battleground podcast, Reed explained the company had to pull the merch due to a copyright snag tied to the shoe image. It's still available, but altered. You can still buy it, but there was some copyright infringement stuff that they had to remove the shoes, which is fair enough, I get it, he said. The original design rocked the Tribal Thief name and a shoe that looked a lot like Nike's Air Jordan sneakers. That forced WWE to ditch the merch and roll out a new version without the shoes. Bronson Reed said he's got his fingers crossed to bring back the original design someday. That's whole thing was that I was walking around with people's shoes around my neck, but they decided to just keep it as the Tribal Thief logo. If I have my way, I'll make sure the shirt hopefully comes back out with the shoes on it, he added. Bronson Reed's headed to his home turf for the Crown Jewel Premium Live event. The Tribal Thief will face Roman Reigns in an Australian street fight on October 11th in Perth. The match got locked in after the OTC stormed back to Raw last week and went after Reed and Breakker. The Vision pair had taken out Reigns at Clash in Paris, right after the former WWE champion had topped Reed in a one-on-one match. Triple H is similar to Tony Khan. Jim Cornette, a former WWE manager, sees a striking similarity between Triple H and AEW's Tony Khan. He thinks both creative bosses share the same flaw. With Crown Jewel, Perth just days away, Cornette broke down the premium live event on the Jim Cornette Experience. Talking with co-host Brian Last, he zeroed in on the pile of titles in WWE under Triple H. Cornette wants a single, unified world title scene since house shows and live events aren't as common anymore. He compared WWE's love for stacking championships to Tony Khan's, pointing out that AEW also floods its shows with gold. There is the reason why they did it before. It's so that they could tour more efficiently with having 2 touring groups, but they don't tour anymore as much as just go, as we said, to the highest bidder and the big shows in TV. It probably would be a benefit, but I don't think they will, just because I think they're like Tony. They like all the belts. They think their fans like all these belts, and then they can use the belts to fight the other belts. Then we don't need the wrestlers anymore, Cornette said. Under Triple H, WWE currently has 23 official championships across the main roster: NXT, Evolve, and WWE ID. Add in the 7 titles from AAA, and the total hits 30. Meanwhile, AEW carries 18, with 8 tied to Ring of Honor. Triple H has only led WWE's creative for 3 years, but talk of his replacement is already swirling. On ESPN's Unsportsmanlike, Cody Rhodes listed himself, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Bayley as possible successors if the game steps down. Rhodes called himself the top pick, said Punk's got a sharp mind for it, called Rollins a bit rough, and noted Reigns and Bayley carry big weight backstage. Triple H has ruined a major WWE championship. Triple H has been catching heat lately for some shaky booking choices in WWE. Fans are upset with how many superstars and their title runs are being handled. One major sore spot for the WWE crowd is the Women's United States Championship. Since its debut, fans hoped it would lift up deserving talent and make SmackDown's women's division pop. But Triple H's weak handling has let it flop. The title hasn't been defended at a single premium live event since it started, making it feel like an afterthought. Every champ so far, from Chelsea Green to Zelina Vega, has had a dull reign with barely any defenses or big moments. Even Julia, a big-name call-up from NXT, couldn't dodge this mess as the current Women's United States champion. Triple H has hardly put the beautiful madness in any major stories or rivalries that could have boosted the title. With next to no defenses, the Women's United States Championship's shine has faded fast. At this rate, it risks being seen as a pointless prop with no real weight in the women's division. WWE needs to fix this quick by shining a light on the title and rebuilding its value. Meanwhile, the Women's Intercontinental Championship, made for the same mid-card purpose, is killing it on Raw. It's become a prize the Raw women's division fights hard for. So, it's fair to say Triple H has dropped the ball on the Women's United States Championship. The creative team has to step up now to turn things around, or the title could sink so low it never recovers. Julia is holding the Women's United States Championship on SmackDown right now, but she's barely defended it since winning. The beautiful Madness had the chops to lift the title, especially after the lackluster reigns before her. Yet things haven't clicked. Signed as a hot pickup from Stardom, Julia was a star in NXT, but on SmackDown, she hasn't made the same splash or boosted the title's prestige. Triple H needs to book the 31-year-old as a fighting champ on SmackDown. WWE should put her in premium live events with big stories and feuds. That would rebuild Julia's cred and cement her as a top champ on the brand. Regular defenses would also put the Women's United States title back in the spotlight, which it desperately needs. Triple H has to make the beautiful Madness a workhorse champ, or the Japanese star might not stand out in the women's division. Worse, she could end up with another forgettable title run. WWE's future is in danger. WWE heads into Crown Jewel, Perth this weekend with a card full of thrills. It packs 2 classic champion versus. Champion fights, AJ Styles versus John Cena, Rhea Ripley, and Sky versus the Kabuki Warriors in a tag battle, and more. The loaded lineup promises wild action, and chaos is sure to break loose. But the Stamford Company must handle Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes for the Crown Jewel Championship with care. A wrong move could wreck WWE's path ahead. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins will clash in a champion versus champion showdown in Perth for the second Crown Jewel Championship. The American Nightmare could make history by taking the prize again. The Triple H creative team cannot let Seth fall to Cody. As the founder of the Vision faction, Seth is key to their strength. A loss to the undisputed champion would derail the buzz around the heel group. Plus, WWE lacks strong bad guys on the roster. Seth Rollins and his crew are among the few top heels left, and Cody Rhodes beating Rollins would shatter the faction's edge. But if the Visionary, guided by the Oracle Paul Heyman's smart plan, beats the American Nightmare, that win would cement Seth as a top villain right now. Toppling Cody would lift the World Heavyweight Champion as the true top dog. It would also pave the way for the long-awaited clash between the ex-Shield brothers, the Visionary versus Roman Reigns. The OTC has tangled with Rollins for a year, but this time, their bad blood might finally boil over. The Stamford Company could set the former teammates for a blockbuster at WrestleMania 42 with the World Heavyweight Championship at stake. This fight has all the spark to become a huge draw, so Seth Rollins beating Cody Rhodes to claim the Crown Jewel Championship is the only way to close the premium live event. It will be a thrill to watch how this unfolds from the RAC arena. Hulk Hogan's family files petition for malpractice claim. Hulk Hogan's family is digging hard into what led to the WWE legend's death. Court papers from Pinellas County, grabbed by Post Wrestling, show Hogan's widow Melanie Sky Daly, his son Nick Balea, and money advisor Terry McCoy, for Hogan's estate, filed for a 90-day time extension last week. This lets them look deeper under Florida's time rules. The papers say they want this extra time to check if they should file a medical mistake lawsuit. No suit has hit yet, and no names are locked as targets. But the filing points to Tampa General Hospital, Morton Plant Hospital, 2 Florida doctors, and any other healthcare teams that fit as spots to look at. Florida rules give people 3 months more to decide on a malpractice case while they weigh it. Daly thinks Hogan's phrenic nerve, the one that helps breathing, got hurt in a neck fix he had in May 2025. She says that work played a part in the 71-year-old Hall of Famer's death. Hogan was found not breathing at his Clearwater Beach house on July 24th. He got taken to Morton Plant Hospital and passed there. Cops back then said no crime seemed in play, but Clearwater police said in August they opened a look into Hogan's death. Daly also got a private check done as part of her own dig into possible mistakes. Florida law says malpractice suits must start within 2 years of the event or when it's spotted, but no later than 4 years from the bad work. This filing adds 3 months to the clock so the estate can pull records and talk to experts. This isn't the first time Hogan's health care got questioned. In 2013, he filed a medical mistake suit over another back fix. He settled it in 2015. Do you think Hulk Hogan's family is right to push for a deeper look into his medical care? Rhea Ripley must be removed from her current storyline. Rhea Ripley is tangled up in a storyline with Sky and the Kabuki Warriors, centered on her bond with the Genius of the Sky. But one wrestling veteran wants her out of it after Crown Jewel Perth. Asuka and Kairi Sane have been making life miserable for Ripley and Sky lately. The Empress of Tomorrow has a weird grip on the pirate princess, who follows orders even though she seems reluctant. The Kabuki Warriors will take on Sky and Rhea Ripley at Crown Jewel Perth this Saturday. Jim Cornette is pumped for the match, but the former WWE manager wants Mommy pulled from this storyline, especially after her Raw segment last week. If the television segment, as we will phrase that we've talked about previously, is any indication of what, these other three that are the kids that are in with Rhea are going to be contributing to this thing. I'd love to see her in and out of this thing as quickly as possible, because that was just stinky bad, Cornette said on the Jim Cornette Experience. Rhea Ripley's got the home crowd edge at Crown Jewel, Perth, since she hails from Australia. The good guys are also due for some payback after getting beat down for 3 weeks straight. In a chat with Justin Dillon of the Wrestling Classic, WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash was asked who'd be the perfect woman for the New World Order. Nash first thought of Mercedes Moné, but ended up picking Rhea Ripley. I remember when Mercedes Moné, FKA Sasha Banks, and Bayley had that match in Brooklyn. I said it then, she was... But now, I have to go with Rhea Ripley. Absolutely. Rhea might be a better fit in the NWO than Sasha, Nash said. Looking back, aside from the NWO girls, the only women in the group's history were Miss Elizabeth and Tori Wilson, according to WrestlingNews.co. Why Blake Monroe chose WWE over staying in AEW. Blake Monroe stunned fans when she popped up in WWE NXT on June 3rd after a solid run in AEW. Many thought WWE was always her endgame, but now she's clearing the air, and her reasons might catch you off guard. On Busted Open After Dark, Monroe shared that her AEW time meant a ton to her, but when her short contract ended, she felt she'd told the one big story she had there. That creative dead end made her wonder if staying made sense. Yeah, I had a fantastic experience, and I did things I'm so proud of and cherish. And when I had a really short contract and when it came to an end, there were positives and negatives. But it got to a point with wrestling where I did have an amazing story, but that was the one thing I had. I didn't have much else. And I just thought, is this everything I want? Monroe even considered a move to Japan, a plan most folks didn't know about. WWE wasn't on her mind at first, but that changed after some nudging and key talks. I also considered going to Japan, which I feel like nobody knows, and it's something I talked to them about. And then when my deal was up, people were like, you should just talk to WWE and see, because I wasn't considering it. And that's not, an insult to WWE. It's incredible. I just didn't. I always try to focus on one thing at a time in wrestling, so I hadn't really considered it. When I talked to them and they cared so much about the glamour and so much about all these different things, I was like, okay, now I do have a big choice to make. After thinking it over, Monroe felt WWE offered the growth and spark she needed. She believed her AEW story had wrapped up and gave props to WWE's focus on women's wrestling as a huge reason for her choice. And I really sat and thought about it, and it was a really, really tough decision. But it just came down to, I did everything I needed to do. I feel like I told a great story. I feel like I made people feel something. And it was time to close that chapter and start a new one. Getting a new name and a whole new experience. And like I said, there are so many women here. Women's wrestling is very important in WWE, and that's something, as a woman, I want to be a part of. And with all these different matches and possibilities for me, it was a great deal. Ultimately, it was a challenge, and I wanted that challenge. Blake Monroe didn't leave AEW to burn bridges. She left to build new ones. She walked away with no regrets and grabbed the chance to reinvent herself in WWE. Booker T backs up Jade Cargill's rise. Booker T isn't backing off his take on Jade Cargill, and he's got words for everyone from online critics to wrestlers. On the Hall of Fame podcast, the two-time WWE Hall of Famer tore into wrestling journalists and keyboard warriors who questioned Jade's quick climb in WWE despite her short time in the ring. Booker made it clear that most of his critics have no clue what it takes to make it in wrestling, let alone shine in a main event spot. To prove his point, he threw out a bold challenge to them. None of these guys have ever taken one bump, never taken one wrestling class. He said, if they would like to take a wrestling class, I would say come to my fantasy camp. See what a 5-hour day consists of and how you make it out of that 5-hour day. Trust me, I promise you, you're going to be saying, I wish I wouldn't have never thought about doing something like this. He explained his comments about Jade weren't a personal jab, but a talk about how rare it is for someone with little experience to land a top spot. Booker gave props to her presence and guts. I give her a lot of credit to be able to walk out in front of those people not having the experience of a Charlotte Flair, not having the experience of a Bayley, Naomi, and still say, man, I'm willing to step in the middle of the frying pan and look as good as I possibly can. He then threw down a challenge to the wrestling world, asking for just one wrestler to call him out. Name one wrestler that has snapped back on me and said Booker T is wrong. Name one. I'm baffled. Booker also pointed out that Jade, like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, didn't climb alone. They had veterans like him in their corner. Think about the guys that Kurt Angle was working with. Trust me, I was one of those guys. Think about the people Brock Lesnar worked with. I was one of those guys. Think about Goldberg. I was one of those guys. At 2 years in the business, I knew very, very little. If you think Booker's being tough just to stir up noise, guess again. He's open to talk, but only with folks who live the wrestling life. I'm willing to talk, debate with anyone that's in this business to debate with me about what 2 years is, because I know. Booker T's words weren't just a fired-up speech. They were a veteran marking the line between talk and real ring experience, showing just how tough the wrestling grind is. Agree or not, it's hard to argue with a guy who's lived it, taught it, and still gives back to the game every week. Paul Heyman leaves the Vision. Crown Jewel 2025 is almost here. The premium live event in Perth has a full lineup, but surprises and sudden twists always make it more exciting. Let's look at 3 tough breakups that could happen at Crown Jewel 2025. Seth Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion, faces Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE Champion, for the Crown Jewel Championship. On Raw before the event, Paul Heyman warned the Visionary about what could happen if he lost to the American Nightmare. The Oracle hinted at walking away from the Architect. A loss would make him rethink why he picked Rollins. So, if the World Heavyweight Champion falls at WWE Crown Jewel, the Hall of Famer might leave the Vision and end things with Seth Rollins. A few weeks ago on Raw, Asuka and Kairi Sane turned on Sky and beat her down. Rhea Ripley stepped in to help the former Women's World Champion. Now they face the Kabuki Warriors in a tag team match, but at Crown Jewel, Rhea Ripley could face a big betrayal. If Sky turns heel and ends things with the Eradicator, it would be a shock. We saw Sky confused about teaming with Rhea against Kairi and Asuka, so at Crown Jewel, the genius of Sky might go back to her family by turning on Ripley and breaking up with her in Perth. Another tough split that could happen at WWE Crown Jewel is the Usos going their separate ways. In recent weeks, tension has grown between the twins. Now Roman Reigns focuses only on the Yeet Master and brushes off Big Jim. The OTC wants Jimmy to stay away from Jey Uso. With all these changes, Jey might end his team with Jimmy at Crown Jewel 2025. This could come after a hot argument on the show, where the Yeet Master chooses to walk alone.